kind of look like Santa's elf, Sharon.
Margaret, from this angle, it looks like you're wearing a feather suit.
Oh, it's just a very fluffy fleece.
How's your little one behaving, Margaret?
Oh, she's asleep at the moment. She's behaving very well at the moment.
Good, yeah. So is mine too. They kind of like electric blankets in the winter.
Mm.
But he has the ability to share screen. Okay. Everybody does.
Hi there, Mrs. Claus.
Hello there.
You should be resting.
Well, yes. I'm making sure all the cells are doing our work.
Well, I'm not. You are seeing. Yep.
Nick, it's not coming across my open speakers, is it?
All right. So our purpose today is to go over the site plan application that Sean's submitted. The plan as it is has a portion of the venue crossing town land. So as a result of that, the site plan application form requires Sean to have the signature of the property owners if the land that he's using is not in his ownership. So in this case, I guess it's the resort and town square or something along those lines, right? And also the planned path for the venue crosses town land. So the town would also have to sign the application for it to be submitted to the planning board for consideration. So before I signed that, I wanted to make sure that all three of you knew what was going on, and that there were questions, and that led to this meeting. So
Tyrell is involved as well, right?
I'm sorry, Tyrell is involved, yeah.
Right.
And they've already signed it. They've already signed it.
Right, so it's Tyrell, it's town square, and it's the town whose land this would be erected upon.
Correct.
And the process is that Sean has to go to the planning board to get approval for this?
A site plan review, yes.
Okay. And let me just ask the question, okay? I put lights up at my house.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do a site plan review for that. If Sean has the approval of all three property owners, why does he have to do a site plan?
There are other aspects to this. Number one, it's a commercial use of the property.
Okay.
It's a change of use. Wendy and I had discussed this, and the determination was that it was a change of use of that land. And when we talked about it originally, it was the golf course, but this land would be basically the same determination. Plus, site plan review also reviews things such as parking requirements, the numbers of people that would be participating in the commercial event, the hours of operation, impact on abutters and things like that. So those things are what's reviewed during the site plan review.
Okay, and also I suppose what is allowed per zoning, per
Right,
existing
and that
zoning?
determination would be by the planning board,
Okay,
yeah, at that time.
so at this point, all you are asking is for us to approve, to sign the application so that the planning board can review it?
Correct. You're not making any determinations on the project itself. All we're doing is saying to Sean that if you are approved, if this plan is approved by the planning board, you can use town land to do the venue.
Okay, huh.
And
So is this for next year? Because it's kind of close to try and do it this year, isn't it?
well, that's part of the discussion, is wanting to get it submitted so that it can be reviewed at whether it's going to be up to the planning board, whether they have a special meeting or whether they do it at the January meeting. But I
Okay,
gotta get the application into them so that they can start reviewing it.
okay,
And then we have to notice abutters, there are other things we have to do, but before we can start doing any of that, I have to have an application. And really, because town land is involved, until we sign it, I can't submit the application.
okay. Anybody else have any questions besides me?
I have a couple. My first one is pretty basic. What is the purpose of the town land? What are you going to use it for? Stringing lights? Are you still planning to run a sleigh, that kind of thing? So I guess that's to Sean, if he could perhaps answer the question. Because all I have is a map basically in front of me.
You also received the packet, Rich.
Right, but that talked. That's why I was saying that's the earlier one, correct? That talked about the golf course participation and the establishment or the setup of like some displays, but also a sugar shack type thing, a horse-drawn sleigh. And I'm wondering how much of that is going to translate into this.
That plan has been transferred into this plan, which I also emailed you this morning, along with the map. You should have received 2 emails from me this morning.
Okay, I got the site plan application.
Yes, that's this.
Right, but it came with, I have no attachments.
And then, well, right, so Sean needs, yes. So that goes to the rest of your question, is
right.
What transferred from the plan that was
right.
on the golf course
right.
to this?
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Like,
Sure.
So I think this year, as far as this year goes, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this to be any more than just a big light display. In future years, I'd like to see, I do have plans on trying to get horse-drawn sleighs back into the valley. Obviously, that's an entirely different discussion. And the idea would be to try to integrate those sleigh rides with this light display. You know, you'd be going on a horse-drawn sleigh ride through the light display. Okay, it's to answer your question about what's happening on the town land portion of it. I believe that is probably the bridge and the that brings me from Town Square across to the beach and then over to the arbor that they use for weddings.
That's correct.
Yes.
So my thought was that, you know, with COVID and all, especially, rather than have this be kind of one condensed area that these lights would be in. And, you know, the thought is that it's going to attract viewers, that people are actually going to come in and kind of walk around and walk through these light displays. So the thought of kind of dragging it all the way around the pond and across the bridge and over to the arbor was to stretch it out more. so that, you know, guests, especially during COVID, guests could actually spread out and not congregate into one tighter area.
The it being lights.
Correct. It's lights. We had our eye on these geodome tents. I don't know if this year we'll see the tents or not. I'm trying to acquire them. Those are kind of expensive. I'm not sure I'll be able to raise adequate funds in the first year to do that. So I kind of predict this year is going to be mostly stringing lights and trees on fence posts, across the bridge, along kind of on the lamp posts and or along the railings. I am looking to have a couple wire frame shapes done. I have a blacksmith that I work with, and we're going to try to create like an arch and maybe some, maybe just some arches to go through the woods. Like at the beginning of the woods, you'd go through an arch that was lit, strung with lights. So we're going to be constructing some of those, and we might be able to either acquire or construct a few like animal shapes, polar bears, penguins, things like that, that would maybe little gnomes and things like that hiding in the woods along this path of lights.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple other, but I'll turn it over to Mike or Margaret if they have any, based on what you just said.
The only thing I've got is really, it's not in our purvey to make decisions. It's the issue is get the application in and let Sean meet the planning board's guidelines. The thing I would be definitely concerned with is I would like to see a future year plan so you don't spend a lot of money on this stuff where you come back next year with an additional plan which violates some of the ideas that we've talked about. And the other thing I would suggest, based on history in the Valley, be very certain you have a place to keep the horses.
Mm-hmm.
It gets really tricky when you talk about bringing the horses into town.
Yes. Yeah, I've been having that conversation with Tim Smith. He's had some history and some knowledge of that I've been learning about with him.
Yeah. But I think as far as signing the application, if he's just going to be passing over our land this year, with nothing else to it, I don't have a problem with that. But it really has to go to the planning board, and you might want to talk to Wendy about, and maybe Wendy's got some questions, and Rich is acting as ex officio from the planning board. Those would be a good time to bring those questions up now to see if this is feasible to go ahead this year, if there's going to be enough time to get it through the planning board.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying 100%, Mike. My interest here is more as from the fact that the town will in effect be a type of applicant for this. And therefore, I just wanted to have a better understanding as an applicant, what it is, what we were applying to the planning board for. So it was just unclear to me, like what it was that was going to go on in town land. As I mentioned, there was the larger project that had been passed to us. So I wanted to know how much of that was actually going to pertain here. And also, I think you mentioned this in terms of town liability, Sean, in item 1 under legal, that you will be taking care of the liability issue. I think that's something just as a town, I wanted to be assured. And I think you mentioned in your application under parking and streets in item 7, that there would be no impact on current bicycle or hiking paths. I assume you meant to include, well, that's the town's language, but that would include the cross-country trails that go across that portion of Corcoran Pond, the beach, that sort of thing.
Yes, we're committed to not blocking or impeding any of that kind of activity.
And I see Chris on, and the last issue I had really was parking, safety, that sort of thing. Again, just due diligence on the part of the select board, at least in my mind, before we agree to sign on to this application. Mm-hmm. So parking, I guess, Chris, are you okay with the parking as it's outlined? Maybe this will draw in more people. I don't know.
Muted. Muted.
You're muted, Chris.
I'm sorry, I was tied up. I just came on. So it's my understanding that the parking is in the like the brownish outline on the map.
Right.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of parking as long as the people that own the parking lots are okay with it, which they should be. And I mean, and I'm sorry, again, I'm late. Is this a walking path?
Yes. Yeah, it's basically just a big stretched out holiday light display. The concept would be, the parking would be in the town square lot across from town square.
Mm-hmm.
That discussion's already been had with the Sununus and with Tim Smith. They approve.
Yeah.
You would kind of enter this near the end of the hockey rink, like coming onto that field.
Yeah.
We would have like an arch entry there with holiday lights, and then you kind of walk along the back. We would do some stuff in the field, trying to pull people over towards the pond, and then be walking with some light displays, decorated trees, decorated fence posts, animal shapes and things like that, along the side of the hockey rink towards the gazebo. We would decorate the gazebo and then continue along the footbridge that goes across the dam. We'd want to do some, and that's the townland piece, I believe. We'd want to do some decorating of the railings and the lamp posts, and then try to bring it along the back side of the beach and bring them up the path towards the wedding arbor, decorate that, and then potentially decorate the other gazebo that's out there near the street. And that would kind of that would complete the circuit for this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my only concern would be, and it's probably not one of your concerns, Sean, but my only concern would be the number of people that are kind of drawn towards the pond. And we'd all have to work on making sure that people didn't wander out onto the pond.
Yeah, and there's, in terms of safety too, I assume this is an event where you will, or a venue, I should say, where you charge people, and there'll be a start point and an end point. People can't necessarily drop in, or they could, but it's not what you're thinking of. Is that correct?
Yeah, the concept would be to charge a small admission fee at the beginning of it, mainly for the purposes of building cash reserve for expanding the display in future years. My goal is to do something on the scale of almost like an ice castles concept, or that Loudon racetrack. Not that this is a driving one, but something of the scale that would actually attract people. You don't want people driving across the pond either. Something along that scale that would draw people into town and actually have them maybe go to restaurants and shop at shops.
Sure.
Like that.
Of course, this year that raises the question of COVID restrictions, state COVID restrictions, and if you're going to have a line and any of that kind of how you intend to deal with people moving through, I guess outside, as long as they're 6 feet apart. Yeah. Once you get beyond the line, as far as I understand it, with regard to state mandate, that's what it is.
Yes, it's currently a map and social distancing mandates. We have a lot of experience with that through my wedding venue, and also through the hotel, and also through the Legends Arcade. So we've got a lot of experience with mask and distancing mandates and signage, and using hand sanitizers and marking out spacing and lines and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we've become pretty good at that. So
yeah.
I think we are drifting off into planning board territory here.
Well,
well, we're an applicant though, Margaret. I want to know what I'm approving.
I have a good question to that too. Is Sean, you're talking about using the bridge and you're talking about using the gazebo, correct?
That is the idea, yes.
How are you going to differentiate who is your paid customer and who's the person walking home to the Golden Eagle Lodge?
I don't think we're going to. I think it's going to be more kind of the honor system. I think the ticket booth at the front, the admissions is going to be, I think people will know that they're helping out a cause. I think a lot of people will be willing to pay that.
And what is that cause?
expansion of the lights for future years. All of the funds from this will go towards expanding the show.
All right. My concern is the people that live here are going to think, why am I expected to pay to use something that my tax dollars have paid for, and how I get home?
Oh, I could certainly.
It's something to think about in how you describe it to the townspeople.
Yeah, I have a easy solution to that. Actually, we could just do free admission to residents, any property owners.
But then you got the residents' guests and their grandchildren who takes care of it. It's really a lot more complex than that in this town.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Everything is.
So, again, this, Rich, are you comfortable now that you understand what's being applied for?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I just wanted to have a better understanding of what all this was about. That's it.
Okay.
I'm not trying to take a bite at the planning board apple.
No, I understand it, but Chris, Chris can also address the safety issues or whatever at the planning board meeting.
Right. Yeah. I was approaching, as I said,
as parking or whatever. Yeah. But I think you're right. If the town's name is going to be on here, then we should understand what's being applied for. So I think that's good. Any other questions about what's in the application or what the planning board will review?
Not for me.
Okay, so if I could ask Margaret, just so we have the minutes that there be a motion that I can sign the application as presented and submit it to the planning board for processing.
I move that we allow Mark to sign the application for the light display, which will now go before the planning board for deliberation and decision. Can I have a second?
I guess I'll second, Mike.
Okay, all those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
All right, there you go, Sean. I will sign this and turn it over to Nick, and we'll get it to Wendy and keep going through the process.
All right, that's fantastic, folks. Thank you very much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Very excited. I love Christmas lights. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, this being Christmas Eve, I'm not going to talk about anything else. But next Monday, you're going to get a first draft of the wastewater treatment plant memo.
It's a Festivus miracle, Mark.
It's a Festivus miracle. I know.
It's going to be a lump of, a lump of what? Coal?
No, I don't know what it's going to be.
I'm going to miss having my children to sit around and talk about how we've disappointed each other this year. We're a little bit too old for feats of strength, but traditions die hard.
There you go. All right. Well, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you after the holiday.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys later.